The moment she picked up the pen, her hands were shaking so badly that a few drops of wine spilled onto the white tablecloth. The laughter around her felt distant, distorted, like it was happening underwater. Fairy lights shimmered above, Christmas music floated through the hall, and people were clinking glasses, celebrating love, success, and endings of another year. But for her, this Christmas party marked the quiet collapse of a life she had tried desperately to hold together. With tears blurring her vision, she signed the divorce papers right there, between half-empty champagne flutes and plates of untouched food. While no one around her truly understood what she was losing or who she really was, her name was Alina Wright. And to everyone in that room, she was just another tired woman with a polite smile and a modest dress, the wife of a rising corporate executive who had finally decided she wasn't enough. They whispered that she had let herself go, that she wasn't ambitious, that she didn't fit into his new world of power lunches and luxury cars. Some even felt a quiet sense of superiority watching her break down, assuming this was the natural end for a woman who depended too much on a man. What they didn't know was that Alina had built an empire long before she ever learned how to cook his favorite meals or fold his suits the way he liked. Alina hadn't always been invisible. Years ago, she was a young woman with fire in her chest and a mind that never rested. She came from a small town where people didn't dream big because dreaming felt dangerous. Her father worked 2 jobs and still worried about bills. Her mother stitched clothes late into the night. Alina learned early that survival required discipline, but hope required courage. She studied relentlessly, taught herself about investments, technology, and markets while others her age were figuring out what they wanted to be. By the time she was 25, she had quietly founded a tech company that solved a problem most people didn't even realize existed. She didn't chase attention, she chased impact. The company grew faster than anyone expected. Investors came knocking, then begging. Alina made deals in plain conference rooms, wearing borrowed blazers and speaking calmly, while men twice her age underestimated her. She'll let them. Within a decade, her company expanded globally, and when she finally sold her majority stake, the number in her bank account quietly crossed into billions. She could have bought headlines, yachts, or a seat at any table she wanted. Instead, she bought anonymity. She created trusts, foundations, and structures that hid her wealth so well that even people close to her never knew the full truth. Money, to her, was freedom, not identity. She met Daniel at a time when she was exhausted and lonely, when success felt hollow without someone to share it with. Daniel was charming, ambitious, and hungry for more than his current life offered. He spoke about building something meaningful, about wanting a family grounded in love and values. He didn't know who she was financially, and she chose not to tell him. Not because she was ashamed, but because she wanted to be loved for who she was, not what she had. When they married, they agreed to keep things simple. She supported his career emotionally, moved cities for his promotions, and slowly, quietly, shrank herself to fit beside him. At first it felt like sacrifice for love. Alina managed the home, remembered birthdays, showed up to company dinners, smiling, even when she was invisible among his colleagues. Daniel began climbing faster, earning more, tasting status for the first time. With each promotion, something shifted. His gratitude faded, replaced by expectation. He started criticizing her clothes, her interests, her lack of drive. He didn't know that the woman he called unambitious had once closed deals worth more than his entire department's annual budget before lunch. Alina told herself this was just a phase. Relationships had seasons, she believed. She tried harder, adjusted herself further, convinced that love meant endurance. But Daniel's world grew louder and brighter, and Alina felt herself fading into the background. He began staying out later, attending events without her, introducing her vaguely when he had to. When arguments came, they were sharp and dismissive. He accused her of holding him back, of not understanding the pressure he was under. She absorbed the blame quietly, wondering how love had turned into something that made her feel small. The divorce wasn't sudden. It was slow, painful erosion. When Daniel finally asked for it, it was done with the confidence of someone who believed he was moving up and leaving deadweight behind. He suggested they finalize everything quickly, cleanly. The Christmas party was supposed to be a celebration of his latest promotion, surrounded by colleagues who admired him. He handed her the papers earlier that evening, telling her it was better to get it over with. She agreed, no, thinking it would hurt less if it was quick. That's how she found herself signing away a marriage, while Christmas lights glowed above her, tears slipping down her cheeks as strangers laughed nearby. No one offered comfort. No one asked her story. They saw weakness and turned away, uncomfortable with raw pain during a season meant for joy. Alina felt humiliation burn deeper than heartbreak. For the first time in years, she questioned whether hiding herself had cost her everything that mattered. When she walked out into the cold night, clutching her coat around her, something inside her finally broke open. She didn't cry loudly. She stood still, breathing in the sharp winter air, and let the truth settle. She had given love, loyalty, and silence, and it hadn't saved her marriage. She realized that shrinking herself had not protected her heart. It had only taught others how to overlook her. In the weeks that followed, Alina disappeared from Daniel's life completely. She moved into a small apartment overlooking the city, a place with bare walls and quiet mornings. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel everything she had suppressed: the anger, the grief, the disappointment, and beneath it all, the strength she had buried. She stopped pretending she was someone else. She began reconnecting with the parts of herself that had once been fearless. She returned to her foundation, expanding programs she had quietly funded for years: scholarships for girls from small towns, grants for women-led startups, resources for those rebuilding after loss. She stepped back into boardrooms, this time without hiding, her presence commanding attention not through wealth but through clarity and confidence. People listened when she spoke. They followed when she led. Her work began making waves again, and her name, once hidden, started appearing in places that mattered. Meanwhile, Daniel's world wasn't as perfect as it looked from the outside. The promotion brought pressure, competition, and exposure of weaknesses he hadn't prepared for. Without Elena's quiet support, he struggled more than he expected. He noticed the absence of her steadiness, her insight, her ability to see what others missed. When he finally learned who she truly was, not through gossip, but through headlines praising a visionary philanthropist and entrepreneur, the realization hit hard. The woman he had dismissed wasn't just successful, she was extraordinary. But Alina didn't look back with bitterness. She looked forward with clarity. She understood now that love should never require self-erasure, and partnership should never be built on imbalance. The pain had reshaped her, not hardened her. She became more compassionate, more grounded, and more intentional about the life she was building. Her redemption wasn't about proving anything to Daniel or anyone else. It was about reclaiming her own worth. 1 year later, at another Christmas event, Alina stood in a softly lit hall, not as someone's shadow, but as herself. She spoke briefly about resilience, about unseen struggles, about how sometimes the greatest transformations begin with moments of deep loss. People listened, moved by her calm strength. She smiled genuinely, not because everything was perfect, but because she was whole. Her story wasn't just about being a billionaire or a broken marriage. It was about the danger of hiding your light to make others comfortable, and the power that comes when you finally allow yourself to shine. It was about understanding that rejection can be redirection, and endings can be the beginning of something far greater than what was lost. If this story touched something inside you, if it reminded you of your own hidden strength or a moment when life asked you to start again, let it be a reminder that your worth doesn't depend on who stays or who leaves. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop shrinking and start becoming who you were always meant to be. And if you believe in stories that heal, inspire, and remind us of our power, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because the next story might be exactly what someone needs to hear.